Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Soul Rising podcast. I'm your host, Amanda McCoy Flanagan. I'm so happy that you are here with us today. If you are new here, welcome. If you've been here a bunch of times, awesome. Thank you so much for continuing to support the show and the work that I am doing out in the world with these wonderful people that I get to share this space with. And today we have Lisa Johnson. She is the co-founder of Been There, Got Out. Business platform, a whole bunch of things. She'll explain what she does. She's a high conflict divorce strategist and certified domestic violence advocate who has successfully represented herself through scores of court appearances. Her case, published in the Connecticut Law Journal, is being used as legal precedent. That's awesome. Her live testimony helped pass Jennifer's Law in Connecticut, the third state in America to expand its legal definition of domestic violence to include coercive control. She and her partner, Chris, coach people in high conflict relationships, divorce, custody battles, and co-parenting hell, so they have the chance of the best outcome in family court and beyond. They also offer a weekly legal abuse support group for those dealing with narcissistic opponents in legal matters. And they wrote a book, Been There, Got Out, Toxic Relationships, High Conflict Divorce, and How to Stay Sane Under Insane Circumstances. That's great. Was released in 2023. Their first course, How to Communicate with Your Ex Without Destroying Your Case or Losing Your Mind, is out now. And Lisa, hello. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Amanda. It's great to be back with you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. We did an Instagram Live together. If you haven't seen that yet, it's on my page. It's on her Instagram page. Go check that out. We met through a divorce summit, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really a direction that I thought I would go in, but I'm finding out that a lot of the work that I am doing is about relationships and how to have healthy relationships and to look at yourself in relationships, which I imagine is very difficult for your clients' opponents because most of them are narcissistic. Is that
right? Right. And the whole grief part of it, because I think in our community, people are getting out of unhealthy relationships, but they're still feeling grief and they feel really strange because they feel like they shouldn't be feeling grief because their brain is saying this was unhealthy, but their heart and the rest of their body is saying, but I still feel really sad.
So it's high conflict, internal conflict, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Like, well, should be running for the hills and be high-fiving everybody along the way, but they're not. They're right. So, okay. So before we jump into that, I get a little ahead of myself. Tell us a little bit about you, how you got into this work, and then we'll just take it from there.
Yeah, well, I love to say that I never dreamt of being a high conflict divorce strategist as a child. I did dream of being an author, and that came true. But my background was as a high school English teacher, and my master's is in education. I taught high school in America. I taught overseas in Hungary during the Bosnian War in a little village in southern Hungary, and came back. And so everything was education. I was teaching, and I also taught writing. And that's a big part of what I do now as well. But when I had my first child, I left high school teaching and thought, I'll come back to it a year later. I loved teaching. I was a total workaholic, but I ended up starting a writing career and a whole bunch of other businesses. At the time, I was married to my ex. We were together for almost 20 years before we split. And I never imagined that I would ever get a divorce. My parents had been together for 60 plus years and no one else in my family had. But I discovered that he had been living a double life. And it took 2 years to really plan an exit because I had 2 kids at the time. I was really rooted in the community. And I'd been told that it cost $10,000 for a divorce. And I thought, there's no way I can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I finally decided that it was more painful to stay than to go, it ended up costing 10 times that amount. The divorce was $100,000 and took a full year. I always say I'm going to be paying back those loans forever. And that started the beginning of 10 years in court dealing with him. Like you mentioned in my bio, I would guess it's probably about 100 court appearances in 2 states, in Connecticut and New York. And that's post-judgment. So the divorce took a year. But then I went back about a year and a half later and then was 7 years of intense court stuff. And so I always like to say I did save well over $1 million by doing it myself. And luckily, the case turned into case law. And I always say that justice and karma did finally prevail. But it was a long, hard road. So in the process of feeling like this is so crazy, I had already done a book about traveling when my daughter was born, so years ago. But I thought I should do a book about this because I don't know anyone who has a life quite like mine with the court stuff. Like everybody gets divorced, but they're usually done by now.
Mm.
And so Chris and I started putting together a book, and then it got put on the back burner because right before COVID started, we were told by an agent that people in situations like these don't want to read a book. They want interaction with you. And so we started coaching, and Chris got his certification as a high conflict divorce coach. And then we were super busy with that. And then, of course, I started doing our podcast, and I always love interviewing people. And I was interviewing a woman about being a single mother who started her own business as in real estate and as a notary. And her publisher was watching, and the publisher said, you should do this book. So we started really working on that book. But in the meantime, court was still going on and on and on. And I discovered the term legal abuse, which I had never heard before. It was buried in a judge's manual from 2015 from Washington State. And I thought, this is my life. I don't know anybody else who's going through it, but I bet there's more people like it. So instead of us just talking about toxic relationships in general, I'm going to focus on what I know. And so we started our weekly legal abuse support group about 4 years ago. And I thought, if I can get 2 people, that'll make it worth it. And we got like 12 the first week from all over the world. And that is what really got us honed in on legal abuse. Chris got his certification. Shortly after we started the group, we've just opened our doors. And like I said, we coach men and women all over the world. The laws are different, but the issues are the same. And we found that a lot of the strategies that we use work very, very well in and out of family court, because the goal is always to keep our clients out of court as much as possible. So that's probably a super long answer to your simple question, Amanda. But that's how it got started. And I thought I was going to go back to teaching high school, but no.
Yeah. Life surprises us. Our life experience, right?
Yes.
Inspires us and motivates us to then want to help others.
Right.
You know?
And I love the term turning one's mess into their message, because that's what I feel like's happened.
Totally. I hear that a lot, especially in the recovery community that I'm in. I hear that a lot. Our mess is now the message. So across the board in so many different ways. So I always feel like, why else do we go through pain if it's not to then help others? Like it's just so like the next natural thing to do. So tell us, for our listeners who don't know, what is legal abuse?
Okay. So legal abuse has many names. One is also litigation abuse. It's called judicial terrorism, paper abuse, and my favorite, stalking through the court. So there's 2 types of legal abuse. And that's but legal abuse is basically when somebody uses the court system to control, harass, intimidate, coerce, or impoverish another person. And there's, like I said, there's 2 ways that we've seen it happen mostly. So one is something called vexatious or frivolous litigation. And that's what a lot of our clients experience, where their ex is constantly filing motions without merit, taking them to court, which takes them away from their job, their parenting, their life. They're living with a constant sense of dread. Like, what is the next bomb that's going to be dropped on me? It's usually, I'm going to take the kids away from you. I'm going to take away financial support. People just live with this constant feeling of like, I'm going to get in trouble if I'm not a perfect parent, because my ex is always watching me and looking for something to get me with. Wow. So that's one thing, vexatious, frivolous litigation. The other side is more of what I dealt with, where my ex refused to comply with our court order, which is actually an agreement. And so I was forced to constantly go to court to try to get him to comply. So again, same thing, takes away from me being able to work, my income. That's why I also didn't go back to teaching high school, because every time I'd apply for a job, I'd be in court again. And representing myself, you kind of have to drop everything. So it's the same feelings of like, what's going to happen next? And the burden is on you to enforce that order. And enforcement is very, very difficult. A lot of times it takes judges a long time to see exactly what's going on. So it's the same effects of like, oh my gosh, like, what do I have to deal with now? And being very distracted. So it can overtake one's life. The general emotions associated with legal abuse, which I felt every single day for those 10 years in court, are waking up with a sense of rage, like I'm so angry that this is happening. How is this person getting away with this? Like, you think that the legal system is the place you turn to for relief, and it ends up making things worse for a number of reasons. Injustice is another feeling that I felt and that our clients have all the time, is like, this is so unfair. We have a lot of clients that are attorneys in other areas of law, and I feel like they feel it the worst sometimes because they work in the legal system and they say, I've never seen anything like this in family court. Like, how is this happening? And then the last emotion that people experience is despair. Like, this is never going to end. It's never going to get better. My ex is never going to stop terrorizing me, and my life, not only till my kids are 18, but forever, is going to have this person who will not leave me alone. So it's an awful way to live. And it's important to understand that it's not just you going through it, but most people don't have to have any experience with something like this. And it's hard to believe because, again, people assume the justice system is the place that helps you.
And you mentioned before that there are different situations, different circumstances, but the emotions are similar in terms of like they're unique, or nobody else understands how I feel. Or do you see that? Like, people feel very lonely. Nobody can possibly be going through what I'm going through.
Yeah, all the time. Because when you talk to people, like in a regular divorce group, people's exes, the anger subsides, things calm down. Even if they don't like each other, they kind of both do what's best for the kids. In our clients' cases, because we only deal with extreme high conflict, which is only about 10%, they are nothing like normal divorce or separation. Like, these are the cases that go on for years, that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and especially where kids are weaponized and put in the middle. And I don't think I told you this yet, but the book that we are currently working on, that we are putting actually the final touches on right now for the publisher, is about how to handle when your ex is turning the kids against you, because that is one of the most common things that we see in our community. Our clients' exes basically give them some version of, when they leave, I'm going to leave you homeless, penniless, and childless. And so they often start grooming children before a split to kind of choose them. You either with me or against me. So if you love me, then you have to completely reject your other parent. And so kids are forced into these loyalty conflicts. And there's a lot of reasons why they'll kind of align with one person, because they're punished for loving the other parent. And it is some of the most heartbreaking cases that we see. It happens to about 22 million people in the US and Canada alone.
Wow.
Huge problem.
That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. It's hard to believe that there are people out there that do this stuff, but like they're there. So, okay. So tell us some of the strategies that you might use. And I assume it's both. I assume you work with men and women. I mean, my brain is going to, oh, these are the women who are the victims and the husbands are doing this, but that might not always be the case, right?
No, especially with what I just described with the kids. More men seem to be victims of that, but we have a ton of women who are victims of, sometimes you hear that it's a controversial term, parental alienation or abuse by proxy, or sometimes it's called poisoning the well, but it's also a type of coercive control because kids are forced to, it's a form of psychological abuse against children because they're forced to choose. So, I mean, the strategies are so many things to do, but the main thing is you want to start your case. If you're at the beginning of a divorce, you need to choose the right attorney. And that is that because your attorney is basically another intimate relationship. And so you want to have an attorney who has experiences with domestic violence cases. A lot of attorneys, like everyone throws the word narcissist out there now, and a lot of lawyers use it in their marketing. They're like, oh, I have lots of experience with divorcing a narcissist. But when you're negotiating with someone with a personality disorder, since divorce involves a lot of negotiation, you need to do it very, very differently, because someone like that doesn't have the same values that the rest of the world has. Most lawyers assume that when people come to the table, both parties are going to care about doing what's best for the child and doing what's fair. But people like our exes don't care about either of those. They care about me, what's best for me. I need to win and I need to destroy you. And so things like communication and mediation, everything has to be approached very, very delicately, to make that person feel like they're getting away with something, that they deserve happiness, they deserve lots of money, and we just have to sort of all focus around their needs. And so you want to find a lawyer who also does not contribute to the conflict. So people often think, oh, my ex is so bad, I got to hire a pit bull. That's one of the worst things that you can do for our clients, because fighting costs money. And your ex is going to hire a lawyer that's going to be a bully probably and fight. And if you have someone doing the same thing, they just burn through your money. So you want to find a lawyer that is very skilled with social and emotional tendencies, like who can deal with conflict really well. You think about like a yin and yang, like you don't clash. It's like one, not that they have to bend and give in, but they have to be able to flow.
Yes.
Even if you have a high conflict ex, you don't necessarily have to deal with a high conflict divorce or custody battle, because if your ex's lawyer is good, which is rare, but if your ex has a good lawyer and if your lawyer can work together with your ex's lawyer and both of them can manage the clients, it doesn't have to be high conflict. So that's why getting professionals who really understand how to work with difficult people is important. And one of the questions we say to ask a lawyer the first time you meet during a consult is, how would you handle a case like mine? And it's my favorite because it's twofold. It's that you've listened to me, because this is going to be an intimate relationship. So I want to make sure I have a good rapport with a lawyer, but also after having listened to me, you can tell me what kind of strategies we can use in terms of a plan of how you would deal with my case versus what we know is normal divorce, which would follow that other cadence, which mine is not going to follow.
So do you know some of those? Excuse me. Do you know some
of the strategies?
Yeah, some strategies that a lawyer might do differently than a regular?
Okay. Yep. So typical lawyers, typical. There's different types of lawyers. We belong to something called the Amicable Divorce Network, which is more like collaborative divorce. So that's when you do whatever you can to keep the case out of court. So people like our exes love court because it's a big stage and they can punish you and it costs lots of money and take up lots of time. And so when you keep it out of court as much as possible, you have more power, especially when it comes to your parenting plan, which is going to be your constitution, the way you live and your kids live. That is the most important thing when you have kids. And I'm talking about that because many of our clients do have children, and custody battles are like the big thing that we deal with all the time. So if you end up litigating in court, you can't agree on anything, a judge is going to literally take a notebook of templates and be like, here's your parenting plan, here's your schedule. And they're not going to think about any of the details or personal needs of your family. So collaborative lawyers will work as a team where it's usually like you have a lawyer, your ex has a lawyer, and then there's a financial person and a mental health professional involved. And so they try to keep it like, it's like everyone kind of gets together. They're like, let's help this couple figure it out and make it as fair as possible, where it's not just you battling your ex, but other authorities who are like, let's help you get through this. It's a lot cheaper. And if it works, it can be a lot more smoothly. So that's one strategy that we really encourage. The other thing that you can do yourself, whether you have collaborative or not, is what we focus on more than anything with our clients. And that's the name of our course. We call it strategic communication. The course is called How to Communicate with Your Ex Without Destroying Your Case or Losing Your Mind. But that's where, from the very beginning, you communicate with your ex in writing only. We want all documentation recorded, like in writing, because phone calls and things can't be admitted as evidence. You're writing to your ex, but you're really writing for this invisible audience of whoever might get involved with the case. And so we always want you to present as like the best co-parent ever, as you're trying to be reasonable, you're trying to involve your ex in decision-making. And at the same time, you are building the foundation for your case. You're turning hearsay into evidence because we can't use those conversations. You're memorializing conversations in writing. And you're also starting to turn the power dynamic around in the relationship. And of course, this is like too involved to get into here, but that's what it does. Mm-hmm. But one of the big things it also does is we know that your ex is going to accuse you of parental alienation. If there's been issues in the relationship between the child and the parent ahead of time, they're going to say that whatever happened is your fault. They're not going to take any accountability for their behavior. So you always want to nip that in the bud and present properly in writing to show that you're not doing that. So that's a big thing to start with, is strategic communication. And that also helps save you lots of money with your attorney, because we teach people what matters, like in terms of custody factors and alienation factors. And so it helps people organize their documentation to give to their attorney. Because a lot of people are like, well, this my ex is abusive because they're feeding him McDonald's every night, or they're doing this, but that doesn't align with what's called the custody factors. So when people understand, okay, these are the things court cares about, these are the things that I really can talk to my ex about, this is what major decisions are, then we can get it all together to give to a lawyer, instead of basically coming in with these huge binders of all this stuff and you've spent all this time and energy on, and then paying someone to read through it all when a lot of it isn't even important to the case.
That makes a lot of sense, helping your clients understand what does the court care about. Because things that you might think, are detrimental to your child, there's law. Like, it either matters or it doesn't. And
Right.
you could maybe present this stuff and pull at some heartstrings, but at the end of the day,
There's no heartstrings.
Why?
They've heard it all the time. Like, there's no heartstrings. And that's another thing that people have to understand, is like, judges follow the law. Like, the emotional stuff can be used to strengthen something you already have, but pulling on heartstrings is not going to get you anywhere. And I think even understanding that court is not the place for validation is helpful, because many people think it's like the movies, like A Few Good Men. I'm going to come in and everyone's going to be like, wow, with what I have to say. And then they're going to punish my ex for being so cruel. It doesn't happen.
Work that way.
No.
Yeah, I'm going through a legal situation right now too, and I'm learning that as well. I'm not going to get into it here because it's ongoing. But the letter writing is very interesting, and I love that you bring that in, because I'm a writer, and I think it's so healing. Do you find that these women, men, whoever are writing these letters are going through their own understanding of what's happening here, or going through a healing process themselves by writing these letters? Has anybody shared that with you?
Yeah. So with the communication, it's really just to their ex, but so there's a lot involved with that. But one thing is, people are really emotional, obviously, and they need to get out their feelings. And one mistake that people make is getting it out to their ex. So we have a whole little section that we call letters never to be sent to my ex. We put our clients on what we call the permission slip plan. And we say, get it out, send us what you want to say. And we're going to put that over here. And then we're going to tweak things for you, because we're always conscious of that invisible audience. And we don't want you to have the burden to be like, am I saying it wrong? Am I doing it wrong? I don't want to mess up. We will take care of that for you. And as we do that, you'll learn to do it yourself. These messages are 4 sentences max. They're very, very short. And so we have a format that we teach called FRAC that we made up. My partner's really good at making up names for things. And so we'll go through it with them, and then they start understanding and this is what works. And then they do it themselves. And that is the number one way that they start to heal, because that's the best way to get their ex's voice out of their head. All of them are terrified. They've been believing their ex has been their authority in the relationship, post-separation still with that, I'm going to take you back to, if you don't do what I want, I'm going to do this to you. So sending these letters basically turns, like I said, it turns the power dynamic around, and you see people's faces, because we work with them virtually, visibly change over even sometimes just a couple of weeks when they start doing this kind of writing. This kind of writing, I think, is the most powerful thing that someone can do. A lot of times it confuses an abusive person. They want your attention, and they're really used to getting your negative attention, which makes them just as happy as your positive, probably happier than your positive attention. So when you start communicating in this way, you're not feeding them anymore, and they don't know what to do. And some of our clients' exes have sent things like, why don't you use more words? Answer me. They don't, because things have changed. It's thrilling to be part of the process and to read stuff back and forth and be like, oh, you got them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people will say, well, I know what my ex is going to say when I send it to them. They're just going to come back and attack me. That's what they always do. But when I interviewed an attorney in New York City named Yoni Leveritz, he said a line that I always repeat. He said, their anger is your gold. So it's almost like, let them. If we can put aside taking it personally, think of it as I'm laying a trap for them. I'm doing things that I know they're going to be like, wait, why is he or she That's not how they usually act.
Yeah.
And they lash out at you. That's helpful for custody cases because it shows a lack of cooperation with a co-parent. So when you know, to gather evidence, we want to always get someone's patterns of behavior over time and having it in writing, say this many times I kept focusing on something with our kid and he or she just kept attacking. That looks really bad. So it's important. It's a strategy.
And that's the new course that you guys are putting out. Is it available yet?
Yeah. So that's the how to communicate with your ex without destroying your case or losing your mind.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll put that information down in the description.
Yeah. There's a little free webinar. I think Chris is a
webinar.
game show host. Yes.
Chris, as a game show host. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that's a little part of it. Yes. We like to use humor.
That's great. Yes, you have to. Right?
I know.
Like that's part of the whole not losing your mind thing. You're helping these people like navigate this thing that could just crush them for like years and years, steal all this time from their lives that they could be out there living in their power, in their purpose. For people out there who are listening, who are, and I feel like a lot of people that listen to my show are really giving, kind, loving souls that want to do good out in the world. How do you manage your own self-care and keep yourself sane?
I know people always ask me that and I'm like, but no, there's things that I do. All right. So first of all, my partner with Been There, Got Out, Chris, is my life partner. And one thing is he is really, really funny. And we've now been together for 10 years. And when we first met, I remember saying to him, like, I'm not the kind of person who laughs out loud that much. Not true. It was just with the wrong person. And as soon as we met, like he just had me laughing hysterically. So laughter is so important. So I love comedy. I love spending time with Chris. Also having someone to talk to, like Chris is someone who really understood and was a great support. My dad also was a great support. A lot of my friends tried to be supportive, but couldn't be because they didn't really get it. But just having those couple of people was really, really great for me. I started doing kickboxing to really loud hip hop music and hip hop dancing. I love it. I don't care about the lyrics. I love it. I love dancing. And so that's a way to sort of get it out and get that oxytocin going. Yeah. And in the beginning of my divorce, I remember I'd just go to my classes and not talk to anybody. I'd be like, I got it out
in the zone.
But over time, I actually started talking and then I developed like a really great group of friends. I called them my turbo sweaties because our course was called Turbo Sweat, our kickboxing course. And so we'd go out dancing and socializing together. And that was really great to help me transition from being like in this married relationship to being single again. So that was great. In general, I love doing art stuff. Creating things gives me joy. I did not paint these paintings behind me, but I love doing stuff with mosaic and making jewelry. I love going to tag sales, sometimes called garage sales, and finding things that I can turn into other things like artwork style. But my favorite is traveling. And I just got back from Alaska. My kids and I went for about a week and a half because my daughter graduated college. And every time I travel, I kind of forget who I am for a while. And it also gives me time to write and to get back to my journals, which I think I told you, Amanda, I've had journals since I was 12. That's many decades now. Yeah. And so kind of forgetting who I am and all the responsibilities that come with my work now, that really rejuvenates me.
Those things are pretty universal in terms of what I heard you say: community, dancing, movement, exercise, getting those endorphins, oxytocin going, all the good hormones, art, creativity. I hear that often with how people cope with grief, or people cope with loss, or people cope with any major life change. So those are the tried and true things, it feels like to me, that I hear over and over and over. And probably the most important one is community, is this sense of like, I have support. My whole world is crumbling, or what seems like it. People in the beginning don't know how great things are about to get, right? Like it's that.
Oh yeah, they're terrified.
Yeah, it's their whole world is just going away without having a plan or a vision or a reality of the new reality is not there yet. So they're in that fear. Yeah, right? Like being with other people that have gone through it. Your support groups that you guys offer, that's huge. You know, people who've gone through it, and then just having people there to take your mind off things, right? Like we don't have to be in the pain all the time. Yeah, that's something that a lot of your clients go through, this the mental abuse that they took, this emotional abuse of, it's like, I got to stay in this. I deserve this. Like, right. Like,
Mhm.
that's so cool that you got that coercive, I forget what it's called, but like that.
Coercive control. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And like that, it doesn't just have to be hitting somebody to be domestic violence. I mean, this emotional abuse,
Right.
it could be even worse. Do you hear someone?
Legal abuse is a form of coercive control, sexual abuse, revenge porn, when someone is threatening to post sexual pictures of you, that affects you, your job, your family. There's a lot of ways that coercive control happens. Financial abuse, which is blended in with legal abuse, you
Yeah.
know.
And it all goes back to this emotional abuse of like, I deserve this. I did something to create this, right? So to be
Right.
around people who understand that, number one, and then other people, friends who just like, let's go out and have fun. Let's go dancing. Let's get our mind off of this and get you back to who you are. And you said something important: when you travel, you kind of forget about who you are for a minute, but then
Mhm.
it's like a little escape, right? But then we
Yeah.
come back to our lives. And I think that makes us think a little bit like, how am I living? Maybe a tiny change I'd like to make. I'm not
Oh,
saying
I'm like, I need to declutter.
we need a little bit of
Yeah.
space in order to then go back and see things. And I think that's an interesting correlation about these divorces. Like, you need that space between you and this partner to find who you are, to say like, no, like that's actually not true. I assume these people are in therapy too at the same time. I know you're not a therapist.
We try that. We want them to have some kind of therapist or some kind of support. Some of our clients don't want to go to therapy. They're just like, they had a bad experience. Some of them use us to vent and things. And a lot of times they'll use us besides with strategies, or they'll just say like, I like working with you guys because you give me stuff to do. And that involves a lot of writing. So they feel paralyzed in terms of action. So, or inaction, yes, they like action-based steps. So therapy is wonderful and necessary. But some people are just like, I'd rather have you give me writing exercises. And that's fine.
And we are learning now that we don't heal trauma by reliving trauma. So like, talk therapy does not work for trauma like this. It just doesn't. I watched it in my own family. My husband went through years and years and years and years of talk therapy for his PTSD. Wasn't getting any better. I actually said, I actually think you're getting worse, to tell you the truth. Like, it's not helping. Like, resetting the nervous system, doing the EMDR, doing all this other work for the trauma, the hypnotherapy, that's the stuff that worked for him. And that's action. That's action. Like, yes, you're sitting there and you're thinking, or you're meditating and you're dropping into your body, like you're doing all of that. But it's not just blah, 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 the same thing over and over and over. It's just carving those neural pathways even deeper and making it even worse for you. So I love that you give them action. That's why coaching, I think, is such a popular thing these days, because people want those actionable tools. And not to say that therapists don't offer those as well, but it's a little different. Like, what you do, what I do, feels like really focus on empowering.
We always say our brand, it's like practical, actionable advice. Like, this is what you can do now. Here's why. But another thing that I think what you're talking about too, and what we encourage, is people need to learn how to have fun again.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about self-care. I'm talking about fun. Again, those pleasure hormones. And again, not exercise, but fun. Like, I feel good, like the laughter hormones. And there's an awesome book called The Power of Fun by Catherine Price that I heard about years ago. And now we always recommend to our clients. In the book, there's these quizzes that you can take about the things that you find fun versus things that you thought you found fun maybe during your relationship. Because I know I took on a lot of my ex's things. And I'm so embarrassed to admit this, but when I was taking the quiz, I was like, you know what? I actually don't like going to live music concerts. I feel awful because everyone likes those. But for me, I'm more visual. I love movies, plays, things with a story. When I go to a concert, I feel like I need something with my eyes and my hands to do.
Okay.
I get a little bit bored. If I'm dancing, then I'm fine. So it has to be a certain type of music. But there's other things that I love doing. And I just finally said to Chris, who loves live music, like, I don't want to ruin your time. Like, I'd rather be doing something else. Or if I go, excuse me if I'm doing something at the same time with my hands. One thing that's really interesting that people are complete polar opposites on, can you guess what is when it comes to fun? One thing in the world she found. People either love it or hate it.
Is it dancing?
Nope. It's the beach.
Oh, the beach.
People love the beach. I love the beach, or they hate the beach because it's sandy and salty and hot. There's no in the middle with beach people.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't it?
I love.
Isn't it?
I would never think that because I love.
I know. I
Never
was
explained
shocked.
I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Oh,
I
that's
found
so cool.
just looking at like these little ideas and things, it made me think about what I love doing that I think is fun that maybe other people don't think is fun. Like I love brainstorming. I love brainstorming ideas. I love business ideas. That might seem weird to people, but I find it fun. It brings me pleasure. It's creative.
Problem solving.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
Yeah.
So I think finding something that you think is fun is important.
Yeah.
And anything that you can kind of be in flow, like uninterrupted and connected with other people. That's really, really important. One of our clients was saying how, she was completely overwhelmed. She was pro se. She was representing herself. And I said, we really need to find something for you to do this weekend because it overtook her life. Her whole identity was this case. And so I said, what did you like to do like before this relationship when you were younger? And she said, I love volleyball, but I just feel like I haven't played in years. But my company has a team. So I said, can you make a promise to me that you will just show up to one meeting? So a week later or a couple weeks later, she reported back and she said, I went and it turned out that it was the wrong day. But there was like 4 guys that were also there. So we ended up playing anyway. And she goes, and we had such a good time that I've started doing it. And now I'm on the team and I love it. I'm so happy.
That's awesome.
I'm so happy because that's a way to counterbalance all the stress.
Fun connected to people is what you said. I love that. Yeah. Connection with others and having fun. And it is so true. I mean, how many of us, whether in a healthy relationship or not, kind of pretend or take on, or maybe we're just exploring. We're like, oh, I never thought about rock climbing, but I'll try it. And then we kind of pretend that, or we talk ourselves into thinking we like it. Right. We're trying to impress the other person. We want them to like us. So if I like what they like, they're going to like me more, Right.
And then you think you like it because you've been doing it with them for so long.
Like I always like to bring grief, loss, pain, trauma back to this opportunity, the opportunities there, right? And not just the toxic positivity silver lining. I mean, you got to go through your feeling and all that, but like there are some real freedoms that come after this, right? After the hell that these people are in, or that you were in, right? Like after, then there's that finding yourself. You get a chance to recreate yourself and really get back to the heart of who you are. And that feels very empowering. That feels very freeing to me. So it's not all for naught, It's like, yeah, pain sucks, suffering sucks. Without it, maybe you wouldn't really have ever truly found yourself. Maybe you would have just settled for like a mediocre sort of life. I think sometimes these painful experiences can push us to like really want it all. Like, no, like, I'm not going to settle for anything. I'm not even going to settle for, this food over this food. I really like this food. So I'm going to now only eat whatever it is, right? Like we really come home to ourselves, I think, after we go through these really painful experiences.
Yeah, because you think, well, why not?
Yeah.
I suffered for that long.
Yeah. Once you get some self-worth, once you rebuild a little bit, and then you think like, nobody's ever going to do that to me again, right? It's really cool. It's really very interesting path. I'm sure a lot of people are on that go through that. So, all right. So is there anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up? I'll ask you where everybody can find you and all of that, but is there any like tidbit or any bit of like information or advice you want to leave people with?
Yeah. So I know you and I, Amanda, like we are on the other side. So we can talk about this and get all excited. But I literally just got off with a client who's at the very beginning who is terrified. She's terrified for the past 2 years. She hasn't been taking care of herself. She hasn't gone to the doctor. She feels tremendous guilt because it's her daughter is graduating 8th grade and she feels like she's not present for her daughter. Yeah. She usually does like home cooked meals. And she's so stressed out with preparing all the financial stuff for this divorce that she hasn't been paying the attention. She just feels so bad. And I told her, I remember feeling the same way. Like, and people always say to me now, how can you be so happy? I was not this happy. Like I was miserable for 2 years plus, but actively for 2 years, I woke up with something that felt like a physical ball of pain in my stomach every day, praying like if I could just not feel awful, that would be acceptable. So a lot of people who might be listening are in that place now, like, oh, you guys sound really great, but like, I don't know if that's going to be me.
Yeah.
It does not stay this way, but it is so important to get the right support. to get people like you and like me who can kind of lead you to the other side, to know that it's supposed to be really hard for a while. It's going to be an emotional roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
We often teach our clients something called the marathon mindset, not just that it's going to be a long thing, a long haul, but how are you going to survive in the meantime? Because you can't, like for me, 10 years, I couldn't just put my life on hold. You can't say, well, once this is all over, then I'm going to take care of myself. Then I'm going to do things. It's almost like you have to figure out ways to still get those little bits of happiness and fun in the meantime. And to get people who can help guide you through and promise you it's going to be so much better, but it's going to be a hard road for a while. And it's supposed to be a hard road, but you're going to not just be back to yourself, you're going to be a better version of who you were. And you don't know what that's going to look like yet, but the quality of your life is going to be so much better. And one of our clients once said to us, and she was suicidal when she met us. We were really, really scared about what was happening to her. She's been with us for like about 4 years now, on and off. And she said, you know what? If this hadn't happened to me, I would have stayed a doormat my whole life. So,
Exactly. And I think it is really important to find somebody who can meet you where you're at. Like, you seem to be excellent at that. Like, I know I've been there, and that's why we can do the work we do, because we've been there. We're not just pretending. I mean, I haven't been in a narcissistic high conflict divorce, but my own pain, my grief, all of that. So to meet somebody where they're at, and then slowly, allow them to come around when they're ready at their pace. If you can wait. If somebody's suicidal, it's a little bit of a different story. You have to kind of push a little bit, I'm sure. But the marathon, that's really interesting, because I'm thinking about like what happens at mile 5 or mile 6. You grab a cup of water, or in mile 10, you eat a little bit of a protein bar, or maybe you stop and you slow down and you walk at mile whatever, right? And then you pick up your cadence, but you're continuing to move forward, but you're not running at a 9-minute mile the whole time.
Right. And you have people saying you're not supposed to be running that fast yet. Like, it's okay. This is normal.
You're where you're at. And that's probably the biggest, I would say, message is like, wherever you're at is okay. I mean, unless you're harming yourself or somebody else, but like wherever you're at is, and even that, like, okay, let's get you the help you need. We're going to see you. We're going to honor you for the truth of how you're feeling. What you're feeling is never wrong. It's never bad. It just is. Now let's help get you the support that you need. So I love that you do this for women, Lisa, and men. This is really huge. People need your help. So why don't you tell everybody where to find you and where they can get your book and all that fun stuff?
Oh, super easy. So we're Been There, Got Out. Our website's beentheregotout.com. Instagram is my home base with social media. So it's Been There, Got Out with little underscores. You can email me. It's just Chris and I, Lisa at beentheregotout.com. The book is called Been There, Got Out. The next book is going to be called Been There, Got Out with a different subtitle.
Okay.
But really, really easy. And if anyone ever wants to get in touch, go to the website, schedule a free discovery call, which is a Zoom meeting. I always say, let's have an actual conversation. Don't just send me long text messages asking for advice. Let's have a conversation and figure out how we can help. But thank you so much for hosting this.
Yeah, it's great. I'm glad you were here. And don't forget to go check out Lisa's free webinar where you can learn that whole letter writing. I'm going to tell my friend about that. I think that would be really, really good for her. So thank you so much. Thank you for the work you and Chris are doing. And we'll talk soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks again.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.